Hey everyone, welcome to Armbars and Sidebars. Today we are joined by one of the most athletic wrestlers in the industry today. She has competed for the National Wrestling Alliance, Impact Wrestling, CMLL, Chikara, Game Changer Wrestling. She's even appeared for All Elite Wrestling, WWE, and a plethora of other companies. She's seemingly been taking the wrestling world by storm lately. Lady Frost, thank you so much for joining us.
Hello. It was quite the introduction. I appreciate it.
It's really crazy, and we'll get into it because you really haven't been wrestling that long, and you've done so much. It's kind of insane.
Thank you. You left Ring of Honor out. That was the one company.
Oh, I'm
But
slacking.
that's
I'm
all right.
slacking.
Now that you listed them like that, yeah, there were a lot of high profile companies. Yeah.
It's super impressive. So what I like to do is I like to hit the plugs in the beginning and then again at the end, just so everyone can always hear where you're at. So where can people check you out?
At Real Lady Frost.
Real Lady Frost across the board. That's Twitter, Instagram, everything else.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. So when I was doing some research, because I'm a fan of yours, I've seen you in Impact, I've seen you in the NWA and just various places like that. One thing I had no idea about was that your grandfather was in wrestling. This completely was not something I knew at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a surprise to a lot of people. He wasn't a huge name, but he tagged with Bruno Sammartino for a while.
He was Battman, right?
So that's probably the most. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he went by I think a few other names as well. Yeah, in the Northern Territories for a while. He was NWA champion for a while. So yeah, I come from a little bit of wrestling history.
Yeah, I thought that was super cool to find out because, the generally where we like to start is, the whole, were you a fan growing up? What was your first exposure? But you must have been exposed to it quite early on.
I mean, yes and no. I didn't go to any independent shows. At that time, it was still very hush hush. Like you didn't talk about it. He was very secretive. He lived in Florida and I lived up here in Pittsburgh. So, again, there wasn't much crossover. So it wasn't really, really talked about. And then he was retired by the time I got a little bit older to understand. But I did watch here and there. Like, of course, everyone knew who Stone Cold and The Rock and everyone was, but
Was he the type to like kayfabe from family and stuff like that?
oh yeah.
That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So if you were only, if
Yeah.
you were only casually aware of it, what made you decide to actually get involved in wrestling? When was that jump?
So I met my husband at a fitness convention and we started dating and he just finished training. He was a mixed martial artist and he crossed over and he said, will you come to this show? And it was in like Podunk, West Virginia. It was freaking, a West Virginia indie show. And I was like, what the hell am I doing here? But I say this all the time because it's the truth. A little girl came up to his merch table, which I was working, and she asked me for my autograph with those big beady eyes. And that was it. Like I was sold. That was, one of the moments for me. But we went to a house show in Pittsburgh and I was just like, I can do this. Like I watched the women and it's insane now to think about me saying this 5 years ago, but I saw Charlotte Flair make her entrance and she was still doing like the front walkover split entrance. And I was like, oh yeah, I got that. Like I could totally do this. Just watching one of the best in the world. Like, yeah. So I started training just a little to be his manager, actually. I didn't full out start training to be a wrestler until sometime after managing and kind of feeling out the in-between process, like what it was to be on that side of the ring, what it was like to be a fan, what it was like, to hear the audience behind me. Like there was so much that I had learned all at once. So I'm glad that I had that experience first before I just went out right to be a wrestler, because I learned so much in that time, just being ringside with him. So that I think that helped me tremendously.